When it comes to the Serie A, expect the unexpected. Who would have thought? I truly would have never ever thought this. San Siro, Torino, 5-0. Could have been 6, could have been 7, could have been 8. San Siro once again. Inter against Udinese. Relatively similar level opposition. When Inter went 1-0 up, I was like, yep, the floodgates have opened. Yep, this is about to be another 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-0. And I was thinking, wow, if Inter do this, what a statement heading into the international break. And I feel like Inter have now sent a completely different statement. Now, where do we even start? Where do we even start? If you're new, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Inter 1, Udinese 2. First off, before I touch on Inter, the areas that they should have addressed before the final day of the transfer window, okay? I really have to praise Udinese, because that Udinese performance was a monster performance. Like, every single one of them was putting their body on the line. I feel like physically they outfought Inter in some moments. And the crazy thing is, there were so many star performers in this Udinese team. Who would you say is the one player that stood out the most? Soleil. The same Soleil that Inter have been linked with for the past 12 to 6 months. Yeah, the exact same one. The same Soleil that plays in a position that you could seriously make a case Inter need reinforcing. Yeah, you're spot on. Udinese played well, but let's get to it. Let's talk about Inter. Inter 1, Udinese 2. They started off well. Like, not as good as they started. They got off against Torino. But even me, in my head, I was like, yeah, they'll get into it. Don't worry. Gear 1, into Gear 2, into Gear 3. By half-time, by the second half, Gear 4, Gear 5. The game is dead and buried. Inter 4, Udinese 0. Now they get themselves a goal through Marcus Thuram in the box. Into Dumfries. Dumfries at the back post. He sneaks in. 1-0. Now, here's what happens afterwards. And this is the one thing that I really want to focus on. And I hope it highlights to you guys why a defender, or shall I say defenders, should have been a priority going into the summer. As wild as it may sound, a defender or centre-half should have been a priority before somebody like Luis Enrique. Sucic, fair enough. It's an area where they needed reinforcing. But I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, a defender should have been a priority. And maybe, just maybe, with 24 hours to go, if I was Inter, I would definitely try roll the dice on Soleil after that performance. But look, the ball gets fed into the centre. Now, you could clearly see Bisek, HAJJBALL, they've pushed higher up. This is where I'm looking at HAJJBALL and I'm thinking, brother, you've now stepped up too much. You've stepped up too much. You have to engage. You have to engage. Now, by the way, the one thing that I feel like a lot of you guys will know, but if you don't, I'll highlight it for you. One of the beauties of playing a back three system is you can always afford to be a bit risky, to be a bit aggressive out of possession. Why? Because you know, if the central centre-half pushes up and engages, and let's just say Davis turns HAJJBALL, you know, you still got 2 centre-halves, and you've also got the wing-back that now tuck in and make it back 4. I was looking at HAJJBALL in that position, and I was like, if he turns you, with the physicality that he has, HAJJBALL, you're not getting back into this game. He turns him, HAJJBALL doesn't take him out, HAJJBALL doesn't engage with him. And I'm just looking at it and thinking, surely if you did, 1, you could have won the ball and stopped the whole attack. 2, if you didn't miss the ball, you've got Bisek there. And then Bisek, if he tucks inside, he's got Dumfries tucking inside. Like, I just looked at it and I was like, the fact that HAJJBALL is not the most gifted physically, the fact that it leaves Inter on the back foot, in that position with Davies, the physicality, the fact that if he takes you on the half turn, he's running in on your goal. You either take him out or you engage and roll the dice, whether you win the ball or not. He gets beat. They get forward. And then once again, I'm looking at HAJJBALL and I'm looking at Bisek. And I'm thinking, all right, cool. He's charging at your goal. He's charging at your goal. You have to close down every possible angle of him getting a shot on goal. Whether he's left-footed, whether he's right-footed. You have to close every possible angle. No angle was closed. They didn't engage. They practically gave him all the time and space to charge, to get as close as possible, to open up his body and curve it around them. Like, to be honest with you guys, if you go back and you watch highlights of that game, that goal doesn't paint a great picture on Bisek, on HAJJBALL. And funnily enough, going into the summer, I feel like they were the 2 centre-halves, in addition to Pavard, in addition to somebody like De Vrij. You looked at them and said, some of them for age need to be moved on. Some of them for age need to be demoted to the bench. Some of them, it's just that passive nature when it comes to defending. They shouldn't be part of the team. And I'm genuinely looking at it and I'm thinking, The transfer window ends in what, less than 24 hours? And what are the chances of Inter getting themselves a centre-half? I was looking at somebody like Loic Bade, who went to Bayer Leverkusen. 25 million. Inter should have been all over him. Soleil, I don't know how much he'll cost, but that happens. And then you had the penalty, which happened prior to that. I'm not sure. Like, the thing that caught me the most by surprise, and I've even wrote it down because I've done the research before this video, Inter against Torino. How many times do you reckon they won the ball in Torino's own half? They won it 9 times throughout a 90 game of football. Now, that's just through them engaging with Torino. Not Torino, like, clearing the ball and Inter retrieve it. No, engaging with the player in possession and securing the ball back. I made a video and I was like, this high press will kill teams. Just FYI, no team in the Serie A last week, game week 1, managed to get more than 9. No team. Inter topped that metric. And I was looking at it and thinking, do you know how impressive that is? Especially when you compare it against other pressing teams across the world. 9 throughout a 90-minute game of football. It's impressive. And I was genuinely going into this game and thinking, similar level opposition to Torino. Like, maybe, just maybe, it might be 9, it might be 10, it might be 11. Let's see how many opportunities you can convert. Today, against Udinese, 4. 4 times Inter engaged and 4 times Inter won the ball back. But this time, they didn't capitalize and put the ball into the back of the net. But the question is, why this sudden drop-off? Why? It's not as if we've gone from game week 1 into game week 35 and the players are fatigued and they're tired and they're thinking of the Champions League. No, you've literally had 1 whole week rest. You've had 1 whole week rest. Second game week of the season. Maintain the same level of physicality, because I feel like against Torino, as much as Inter impressed technically in terms of the ball playing, the goal scoring, the chance creation, I was looking at Inter and I say, wow, physically, you guys look like animals. Physically, you guys look like you're on a different level. Today, I looked at them and I wouldn't really say so. Like, I just don't understand. I genuinely don't understand. I'm looking forward to what Chivu has to say, because I want to see, like, why the sudden drop-off. They weren't pressing. They came out in the second half. They started to press. I saw it. I saw the high press. I saw everybody pushing forwards. And I was just sat there thinking, why wasn't this the case in the first half? Because it was the case against Torino on a consistent basis. Why did you have to go 2-1 down to go back to playing your most dominant of way, which secured you a 5-0 victory a week ago? But even then, they done it for about 10, 20 minutes. And then they faded away. And that's when Udinese, like, don't get me wrong, physically they were amazing. Defensively, they were so resolute. But I feel like that's when Udinese just sat back and looked at Inter and said, can you break us down besides putting crosses into the box? And that's where I looked at Inter and I was like, like another area that needed addressing. What do you call it? The trequarista. Somebody that can play in that central area, but not somebody that plays in a central area and just passes the ball left, right. No, somebody that can play in a central area, that can carry, that can dribble, that can play make in a central area. That's what Inter needed. Like, Inter have needed somebody that can beat their man one-on-one, whether it's out wide in a central area, for years. Like, genuinely for years. Like, just a difference maker. Bastoni, today, I sat down and praised him against Torino for his passing. Bastoni today, for me, was arguably one of the worst players in an Inter shirt. And don't get me wrong, there were a few players that didn't step up. But Bastoni, for me, I feel like I put such a high expectation on him where I'm like, you are this ball-playing magician. You know, Bastoni lost the ball today 25 times. 25 times, he just gave it away to Torino. Towards the end of the game, the switches of play, the crosses, like when the commentator says, Bastoni's lost the ball, I'm like, no way is that Bastoni. Bastoni, Mr. Refined, Mr. Precision, he just didn't look at it today. And you have to bear in mind, when you look at Inter's backline, HAJJBALL not the most progressive, Bisek not the most progressive, neither of them can even carry the ball. The responsibility mainly falls on Bastoni. Bastoni, you have to get the ball forwards. Bastoni, you have to be the centre-half that steps into midfield and contribute in playmaking. If Bastoni has a bad game, then practically your 3 centre-halves are not offering nothing. And when they were tested defensively, they weren't great. Listen, it's too early to draw conclusions, but I'm just looking at it and thinking, this is a welcome to the Serie A for somebody like Chivu. Yes, he was in the Serie A last season, but I mean, welcome to the Serie A. Welcome to the big boys league. Because yes, last week you were hailed, you were praised, you were probably on every single social media outlet in Italy, in the UK, in Europe. Chivu, 5-0, Torino, high press, this, that. Everybody's happy. All it takes is 1 week, one bad result, and you're getting booed in stadiums, and people are losing their shit online. Welcome to the big boy league. I feel like he needs to get his message across to these players. If we want to play high energy, high press, you better do it every single week. Fair enough. I'll sympathize if it's game week 35 and you're tired. But game week 2, no midweek game, fully recovered, fully rested, having all the confidence of beating Torino 5-0 to drop a performance like that doesn't make sense. It truly, truly, truly doesn't make sense. Like, it's genuinely a game that I was just sat watching and I was like, how do I break this down? Like, what do I talk about? Like, how do you go from up there to here in 7 days? How? I'm curious to see which Inter turns up after the international break. And I'm actually very curious to see if they might dive into the market. Little panic buy, little player surplus to requirements from another league. But I guess time will tell. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on another one.